Growing up, both of my parents were alcoholics, and they got a divorce when I was really young. After the divorce, my dad stopped coming around, and my mom tried to kill me twice. My mentor, he committed suicide because he was falsely accused of raping a child. I've never had an adult in my life that really ever loved me aside from that one mentor. So when I tell you that I know what you're going through and I know how hard life can be, trust me, I know. Now, I'm successful now, and I don't want to focus on my success too much, but I want to let you know that I'm capable of telling you how to make it. I was homeless at the age of 23. After everything that I went through in childhood, I still ended up homeless on my own. And it was 18 months after the day that I went homeless that I had built a company that was doing 7 figures a year. So I also can tell you that it can turn around fast. I'm going to tell you a part of my story that might matter for you, and then what I did to get out of homelessness and start my first business, and what that means for you as a young man who's trying to make it. I'm 39 years old now, and I've wasted a decade of my life after becoming successful making mistakes. And hopefully this video can help you become successful and then not repeat the same mistakes that I did. My name's Sean Rakijic, 39-year-old self-made millionaire with ADHD. Let's take it from the top. My friends, everything before 23 years old in a minute or less. I had a 1.92 GPA in high school, bottom 10% of my class. I took a year off to work at a factory third shift because I didn't think I was going to go to college. I never thought I was going to be capable of it. After a year of working in that factory, I saw these old people who'd lived their entire lives in a union job, and I decided I didn't want to be like these 50-year-olds that were making the same amount of money that I was making at the age of 18. I studied for my ACTs. I got a 27 on my ACTs, and that got me into college. Went to school for music. No one in my college knew me from high school. They didn't know that I was the smelly welfare kid whose parents beat them all the time. They did not see me coming to school with the same two outfits on. And because of that acceptance, I cared more about friends than I did about school because it was the first time I was ever accepted. And then I ended up dropping out academic probation. And my drummer in the band I was in college was the person that talked me into sales. And that's what gave me my first taste of success. A sales job, full commission, no hourly, no salary, selling newspaper subscriptions in grocery stores. It was the only real opportunity that I ever had. And even though this is 2007, 2008, newspapers are dying, I start making 6 figures a year in sales selling newspapers. There's a moral of the story here. We'll touch on that later. Fast forward a year and a half, I end up as a sales manager for the same company. They moved me to Texas. I fail as a leader. 21, 22 years old. I should not be managing 45-year-old sales guys without any training, but they gave me that position and I tried. I did not know what I was stepping into and I failed. That failure hurt my pride because all I ever wanted in life was to be good enough. And as a sales guy, I was good enough. And as a sales manager, I was a failure. That drove me into homelessness. That's when I was 23 years old. I lived in a Mazda MPV van for 4 months, eventually started my own company in the same industry. I talked a newspaper into giving me my own contract. I called some of my old friends from the newspaper world to come and work for me. I called my brothers. I called my dad, who was also homeless at the time when I started my company, and he came and worked for me too. A year and a half later, I have a sales company doing 7 figures. And then I became the biggest piece of shit you would ever meet. New money, cocky, even worse of a waste of life than I was before I made the money. Because now you couldn't stop me. I thought I finally could show people how wrong they were for looking down on me, and I wanted to punish the world for ever not believing in me. You might relate to that, but you also might relate to the wounded kid that just wanted the love, that took the sales job and was hyper successful. You might relate to the later version of me, 10 years into making more than $1 million a year, womanizing and partying and living this dark life full of ego because I felt like I deserved all the things. And then I fell in love. And then falling in love made me realize that I never addressed the childhood trauma for when my mom was abusive or when my dad was gone. That sent me into a 2-year depression, and you can see it on this YouTube channel. I grew out a ponytail and a beard, and I just wasn't taking care of myself until about a year and a half ago, I started turning my life around. And here I am, only a year and a half into this chapter, trying to tell you all about how I made it. And here's the truth. You will never be done learning. You'll never be through your challenges. 5 years ago, I would have told you a story about how I made it as far as I did before I fell in love and got crushed, and I would have told you full confidence what I thought I know. 10 years ago, when I was that piece of shit new money millionaire, I would have told you all about what I thought I know and how you can make it. The one thing that I can tell you at 39 is how I was wrong, and then I was wrong, and then I was wrong, and now I'm probably still wrong. But every iteration, I get a little bit more and more figured out. So instead, let me tell you what I did to make it, instead of what I think is right or what I think is the truth. Because truth is always going to change. Your life experience is going to be different than mine. But I will tell you what worked for me and what kicked my ass. And maybe this video will help. So number one, learning sales was the best and the worst thing that ever happened to me. My disposition is that I'm a liar. My mom was a compulsive liar. She was abusive and manipulative, and I learned to lie, just like my mom. Until about the age of 21, I could just not lie. And getting into sales made it really hard to manage that. Because in sales, you can tell little white lies and make a lot of money. I had to walk away from lying right before I went homeless. And I started my business in a good chapter of life, really committed to not making up bullshit anymore. But it's a hard line to walk. Learning to sell, learning how to talk, how to present yourself, how to be persuasive, the art of influence. These are good tools to learn, but they can be used in very dark ways. Especially if you're traumatized like someone like me, you're going to have discipline to not turn yourself into a Jordan Belfort or a Bernie Madoff. And some of you watching this might go, well, that's not so bad. At least they were rich. Sure. You may find that it doesn't seem so bad to be a Jordan Belfort as long as you make the money until you get the Jordan Belfort consequences. Until you wake up 10, 15, 20 years later, regretting all the people that you ever hurt along the way. Now, I don't have the record Jordan Belfort has. I don't have the jail time or the fame for doing bad shit, but I still regret all the bad shit that I did. And learning to sell and learning to lie well, they go hand in hand. And I made my bed in a bad way with that. But still, I highly recommend learning to sell. But I caution you, it can cost you everything. Because learning to sell also teaches you self-reliance. This is the lesson that I really needed to learn in my early 20s. I was so validation seeking as a kid. I just wanted anybody to love me, anybody to tell me that I was good enough. In commission sales, you keep what you kill. You get paid for every little thing that you do. You earn your way, and it feels good every time you get a sale. That self-reliance that I learned in sales is how I survived going homeless. Living between a van and friends' couches for 4 months, trying to find your way, having to work for cash and do little gigs and be scrappy. Sales is what allowed me to get through it. Sales taught me how to handle rejection and how to work without a plan. And there is something that I do think to be true, that no matter how prepared we all are, how hard we try to have it all figured out, it is human nature to want more and to push the edges. And at one point, you will push the edges to the point that you are unprepared and your plan A breaks and your plan B breaks, and you end up just in the middle of chaos trying to figure it all out. Your ability to handle not having a plan is your biggest advantage, especially when you know nothing. That's how most entrepreneurs make it, if you think about it. They have an idea, they don't know what they don't know, and they don't let that stop them. They get knee deep in shit and then they figure it out. They work their way through it. One mistake at a time, slowly building their SOPs. There's not a single business that I started because I thought I wanted to start it. I didn't think I was going to stay in the newspaper industry, but then going homeless, I had no other choice. I didn't think that I was going to be an Airbnb host, but I started renting apartments for employees and they all moved out. So I had a bunch of empty properties. I didn't think I was going to be a YouTuber, but one of my friends said something really crazy about real estate and I just decided to post a video of my opinion. And it was becoming a YouTuber that made me want to pick up more Airbnb properties. And then that process of growing and teaching made me fall in love with coaching. And now I'm a coach. And I even told my employees in 2015 to 18 that I didn't want to ever sell a course. It just wasn't my style. And one guy kept dogging me. He still works for the company since 2018. He kept dogging me to start a course. And he was right. I absolutely love the mentorship side. As tangential as all of that was, if I could package it into something, we have no fucking clue what's going on. You're going to be in one room with one opportunity, pushing your hardest. And that's going to look like a dead end, like the newspaper industry was for me. And because you're fighting that fight and you're keeping your knives sharp, you're going to find a new opportunity and you're going to take that and run with it. And nothing's ever going to last forever. That might be a lesson that I really wish that I knew earlier because I would have abandoned trying to build a newspaper business a lot earlier. We fall in love with the story of our own success, like we've deserved it, like we've earned it, like it's going to be there, like it's a crown to wear, but that's not the truth. Every day is a reset. Every day is a new day. If your day was shit or your day was good, it doesn't matter. The next day is a new one. And if I kept the same loyalty to nostalgia like in the newspaper industry, that lesson that I learned a long time ago, if I was addicted to past successes, I would not be adapting in any of my new businesses now. But I only recently learned that lesson. I missed the Bitcoin boom 10 plus years ago. I was trying to learn to day trade and I lost $50,000 one year trying to day trade back when Bitcoin was 8 cents. I could have just put $1,000 into Bitcoin back then and held on to it. And another thing that I know to be true is you can't turn back time. We can't go back in time and take the deal that we missed. You're never going to have that opportunity. But what you can do is learn from those failures, synthesize that into pattern recognition. And history does repeat itself in novel ways. And when you see that new setup, you're going to take advantage of that setup. They say that wisdom is wasted on the young, but I know 40, 50-year-old guys that never learned a lesson. They are no wiser than they were at 23. And I also know kids that are wise beyond their years because they have the ability to be self-aware. And we are in a golden era for anyone who wants to learn and contemplate. With tools like ChatGPT, you can dive deep into any topic. You can ask it to play devil's advocate, find your blind spots, and coach you through things that you never could have learned on your own. I didn't have a mentor as an adult because Rodney committed suicide. And I've made it this whole way without ever having an older male to look up to. But with ChatGPT, I can have that same relationship with someone who's wise beyond their years, has the vastness of all the internet. My one warning for you, though, is ChatGPT likes to be a little bit sycophantic. It'll tell you anything that you want to hear. So you have to give it the constraints to say, I'm looking for something that's going to be my devil's advocate. I'm looking for something that will give me new perspectives. I want to continue to grow, not by emboldening my position, but identifying new positions that are not mine, so I can synthesize the world into my worldview. And ChatGPT, with the right instructions, can do that. The key to my success initially was desperation. If I did not go homeless, I would not have started a business. And that's my dirty truth. It may be the same for you. Whatever tool that you use to make it is absolutely fine. For me, it was vengeance more than it was just desperation. The fact that the company that I worked for scorned me and put me out on the street essentially in my story, which may or may not be true, right? But I was a victim in my mind and I hated that company. I was going to prove them wrong and I was going to start a company and I was going to put them out of business. And I did. I crushed them in their own backyard eventually. It was that fire of vengeance that kept me alive. And yours could be anything. You want to prove somebody wrong? Man, that feels so good when you get there. But eventually we're going to have to abandon that. There was one point that I learned this lesson in a really crazy way. I had built my Airbnb business to make millions of dollars per year, but my health was eroding right after COVID. And I realized that I can't keep it up. I'm just dying. I had bruises that weren't healing for months. I was completely just out of shape. My skin was terrible. And I was on the way out. I started fasting, taking care of myself, getting back in the gym. I built my company to automate without me, and I took a month and I just disappeared to Mexico and completely transformed my whole body, my whole life. In about 6 weeks, I lost 26 pounds, and I look 5 to 10 years younger just like that. But it was that point that I took it farther. I decided to take 2 years off from all of my businesses, to stop being such a workaholic. And it was within a few months that I fell into a weird form of depression. Not the post-love depression that we can talk about, but I suffered what I would call a crisis of purpose. The fact that I retired in my early 30s and nobody needed me anymore, no one's calling my phone, no one's asking questions, no one needs the boss, I felt like my life had no meaning. I had to find a way to accept that my life had value while I was not doing anything for anybody else. When I wasn't leading and serving and being smart and solving problems, that I could have value just from existing. That was a mind bender. And I still struggle with that today. I still don't necessarily believe that I get to have value just because I exist. But I'll tell you, my friends, the ones that I barely spend time with because I am a workaholic and I am addicted to trying to be great at stuff, they have taught me to accept myself for who I am. If I'm not on it that day, I can just be myself. And I'm grateful for those friends. Now, I do believe that the friends we have are for a reason. I'm the type of person that doesn't give up. My friends have a problem, I can solve their problem. But my friends are way more human than I think I can ever be. I'm a bit of a robot. I'm disassociative from my trauma. I don't connect with people well. And my friends have to put in the work to make sure that I keep a relationship with them. But they forgive me for that. But if they ever need to pull a parachute and solve a problem, this brain just doesn't turn off. And so we have a little bit of symbiosis there. Tangent. Again, let's bring it back in. After I got successful, I had no discipline. I felt like I earned it. I wanted to punish the world. And I just lived a hedonistic lifestyle. And it was a combination of that hedonism and my trauma that allowed me to compartmentalize away responsibility and connection and humanity, you could even say, until I fell in love and realized that everything that I built to keep myself safe and to keep people at an arm's distance was all a lie. I finally let someone in and I started to have to tear down those walls. And this is where the story can come full circle in a really wild way. If you were wounded as a kid and your parents were bad to you or the world was bad to you and you think that making money is going to fix it all, yes, until it doesn't. It will absolutely make life better until it doesn't. And there was a version of the universe where I never fell in love and I was just some rich douchebag until the day that I die and I don't know what I'm missing. But I got the version where I fell in love and realized how hollow I was. The moment you realize that money can't solve all your problems is the moment that you'll hate money for a while and you'll run away from it and try to tear it all down. And then if you want to be successful again, you're going to have to find a new reason to be successful. It's not just going to be for money and fame and validation because you got it and it was hollow. My new motivation now is I love being great at stuff so I can share what I've done with the world and I can see other people succeed with the things that I've learned. My ability to replicate my success through other people means the world to me. I think it's amazing. When you're 20, you care what everyone else thinks. When you're 40, you stop caring what everybody else has to say. When you're 60, you realize no one ever cared in the first place. The sooner you can get to understanding that lie, that everybody is so in their phones, focused on their own life, worried about what everybody thinks about them. They're too worried about their world to care about who you are. Nobody's judging you. And if anybody's judging you, it's because you're close enough and better enough that they can see you as the next person in the pole position. The people that I've ever hated on in my life were the people that were directly in front of me. So if anyone's hating on you, it's just because you're there and you have position. And that's it. It's a compliment. And Jim Carrey said he wants everybody who ever thought money mattered to make a bunch of it so that way they can realize the truth and that money didn't matter. And I remember when I didn't have money and people would say money can't buy you happiness or money isn't the only thing that matters or whatever. I'm like, yeah, easy for you to say, bro, you got it. But that's really the point. Just like when parents say, well, kids think they know everything. Be like, mom, you think you know me, you don't know me. And it creates a cycle. People who have money and say that realize that they thought that money was everything, and then they realize how false it was. And they're trying to warn the world. Like Cassandra of Greek mythology, she was cursed to know the future and have nobody believe her. Parents, when they say kids think they know everything, same story. You and I and every other man on this planet, we have a chip on our shoulder because the way that we were raised and the way that we were put out and told to be self-reliant and to buck up and man up and all the bullshit. And we're doing this all so we can become successful and show the world that you were wrong about me, I am good enough. And then we're not going to feel good enough because we played their game. And sure, it's easy to say this and warn you against the game now that I've essentially beat the game of capitalism. But I want to warn you that after you beat the game of capitalism yourself, you will have a different game to play, which is the one where you try to win your soul back. So yes, full permission, make a ton of money, be ambitious, but try to maintain a sense of discipline. Try not to punish anybody else on the way. And do not think that once you make it, that it's going to mean something. Once you make it, now you get to play the next game. Good job. But man, I'll tell you that game, this one that I'm in, it is so much harder than making money. And if you play it wrong, you'll end up like my father. He inherited a bunch of money and started blowing all that cash. He bought a nice sports car and a nice place in Scottsdale and partied and spent all of his money and did crypto, I think, or Forex. And he bloated his appetite for life and then he ran out of cash. And that's when he went homeless. He was never homeless before. Not until he inherited a bunch of money, started spending it all, had the appetite and then lost it and could not manage his appetite. My dad's a strong dude. My dad's a survivor, and he survived that. But it was precisely his ego and his inability to rein it in after he thought he got what he deserved that put him at the lowest point of his life. So when you build your big thing and your ego gets big, that is what always happens before a man loses everything. So if there's anything that you can keep from this video, is watch out for that day. The day that you think that you own it all, that you deserve it, that it's yours forever, is the day before you lose it. And get it together in time. Thanks for watching this video. I know it's not my usual content, but if you're a young man trying to build a business, get by in life, follow here and find me on Instagram. We can have conversations there. Some of my future content will also be suitable to you to help you understand what it's like as a guy to make it in life, become a business owner, and ultimately become happy at the end of it all. Thanks. As always, I'll see you on the other side.